The film revolves around a plane that, due to a mechanical failure, travels through time and reaches the time of World War II. World War II was going on. A plane is shown at the start of the film, which has a captain and a pilot. The captain claims that the weather is quite clear and will reach within an hour. Everything was running smoothly until all the airplane's devices began to malfunction. The captain contacts the control room. They inform him that there is no manufacturing fault with the aircraft. The weather is clear up ahead as well. Hearing this, the captain relaxes. Traveling ahead, they see a terrible storm approaching their plane. Watching this, the captain and the pilot become terrified. They were trying to contact the control room, but, because of the poor weather condition, they were unable to contact the control room. There was a terrible storm before them. Having no option, they had to travel through the storm. Fastening the seatbelts to the passengers, they were instructed to be cautious. As they passed through the storm, the situation turned worst. All the passengers seated on the plane were screaming with fear. The captain and the pilot have saved the plane from the storm. After coming out of the storm, it suddenly turned out the night. They wondered that it was the day before some time and how the night appeared suddenly. This makes them worried a lot, and everything except the radar begins to malfunction in their plane. From this, they learn that many other fighter planes are flying around them. They still hope that their plane might have a defect that the control room will fix. They continue to travel. 30 minutes pass in this way. But they didn't receive any signal from the control room. The captain decides that they'll land the plane. And will figure out the matter. As they were landing the plane, they find the signal of other flying planes on the radar. The pilot tells the captain that these aren't regular planes but fighter planes. As they glance below, they see a few planes attacking a city with bombs. Seeing them, it looks like a war is going on. The passengers of the planes become terrified when they see this. Meanwhile, the plane crew comes and tells them that there is no need to fear, everything is under control. On the other side, the captain and the pilot were also afraid. After witnessing whatever was going on before them, some fighter planes witness them before they can understand anything. All the passengers on the plane were terrified by whatever the happening to them. They ask the plane staff to tell them everything truly. They warn all the passengers to stay calm for a while. Because the plane staff was also unaware about this all happening. The captain and the pilot both were worried and the captain suggests to land the plane. But the pilot became afraid of whatever he has witnessed before a while. The captain tells him, try to understand, our plane is about to run out of fuel. If we don't land the plane, we'll trap badly here. Later, we see two passengers in the plane who were historians, that they know everything about the past. They have deep knowledge of the past, the old time. As they look below and open their books, they come to know what is happening around them. They go to the captain and the pilot to inform them, however, nobody was allowing them to get to the pilot and the captain. They inform by standing there that the planes they've seen outside, after 1945, they stopped production, and the enemy destroyed them. Here's this, the captain rags and tells them, what useless talk are you making? He asks them to go from there and he doesn't listen fully to them. Both of them tell him that we've traveled in the past time by time travel. This is the time 1940, World War II, and the captain listens to them. The captain tells him that I'll give you some time and you can narrate your story. After listening to them, the captain was also confused. He asks them to go and sit in their seat. He forbids them to tell about this to the other passengers. Later, they travel the plane ahead, and meanwhile, they contact an army officer. He was in his control room and asks them to tell about themselves. They tell him that we need help, but the army officer doubts them as his enemies. The officer was also worried after listening to their talks. Later, the captain asks about today's date. He tells him that today is 17th of June 1940. The captain becomes worried to hear this, as they were living in 2015. He was recalling the statement of two historian passengers. They've informed him about everything, and he later calls both of them. So, they can talk to the army officer with they've contacted. They check their history books and tell the army officer that a giant ship is about to sink. The army officer was worried that how such a giant ship can be sunk. He goes to his other army officers and informs them about this. On the other side, the two passengers who know about the past tell the pilots, due to a problem in space, we reached in 1940 by traveling time. This all is just for a while because we don't belong here. Soon we'll reach our time, but we've to wait for that time now, and we must protect ourselves from the war that is breaking out here. Meanwhile, a man hears this and tells everyone that we've traveled in the time of World War II. And our life is in the danger, but no one was believing him. Only a few people believed him, and meanwhile, two soldiers arrive there. They were traveling on this plane, and they ask everyone to sit in their seats comfortably. Because they don't want anyone to act stupidly at a time of difficulty. Again, the army officer contacts them from the control room. He tells them that whatever the information you've given us about the plane is absolutely right. Many lives have been saved because of you, and now they were ready to help them. The army officer was inquiring about their right location. But they don't know about their location. For this reason, they turn on the lights of their plane. So the soldiers can see them, but it happens the opposite. Some fighter planes see them and begin to fire their guns at them. The captain has an idea. He thinks that these fighter planes are quite ancient. Their technology might be quite old, so to save his plane he lands his plane. But the fighter planes were chasing him, and meanwhile, he takes off his plane. The fighter planes that were chasing him can't suddenly take off and were destroyed after landing. Now, their plane was running out of fuel, and meanwhile, 2 fighter planes approached them. They attacked their plane with a missile. From their plane's window was blown. Their plane becomes unbalanced. The attack frightened all of the passengers. The 2 historians, men who knew about the past, had all the information. They say, to fix our plane's balance, after fixing a radar with a parachute, we had to toss it. As a result, the army soldiers will help us, and they take a parachute from a passenger. After fixing it with the radar device, they send it to the army soldiers. The army soldiers have seen it, and they install the radar, and learn about the exact location of the plane. They bring the pilot to a safe area, but the fuel of the plane was about to run off. Meanwhile, they see the storm before them that has brought them into this time. They learn that the time is again going to be correct, as the 2 men inform them. They were about to enter the storm, and they warn the passengers in the plane to sit safely. Everyone was quite worried, and they entered the present after passing from the storm. After traveling from 1940 to 2015, finally, both pilots make an emergency landing. All of the passengers have been saved over the 6 hours they have been dealing with this. They feel relieved and got off the plane one by one. But an old man was still on the plane, writing a book. Here, we learn that this is the same army officer who'd helped them in 1940 from the control room. This army officer already knew that this plane will time travel. For this reason, he has kept a parachute to avoid any trouble during traveling. The movie story ends with this.